Deep within the archives of European folklore research lies a disturbing discovery that challenges everything scholars believed about the origins of fairy tales. What began as academic curiosity about the Brothers Grimm collection has uncovered evidence suggesting that some stories may have emerged from far darker sources than mere imagination. Before diving deeper, don't forget to subscribe for weekly mysterious content. It was November 15, 1812, in the candlelit study of Jacob Grimm's residence in Kassel, Germany. The winter evening had settled over the cobblestone streets, and the scholar sat hunched over his writing desk, transcribing what would become one of the most unsettling tales in their collection. The source of this particular story was not the usual village grandmother or traveling merchant, but a mysterious woman who had appeared at their door 3 nights prior. Wilhelm Grimm's private journal, discovered in 1967 during renovations of the family estate, contains disturbing details about this encounter. The woman, described as pale and unnaturally thin, claimed to possess knowledge of ancient pacts that predated Christian influence in the Germanic regions. She spoke in archaic dialects that the brothers struggled to understand, yet her words carried an authority that compelled them to listen. According to Wilhelm's notes, the woman insisted that the tale of Rumpelstiltskin was not fiction, but a historical account of events that occurred in the Harz Mountains during the plague years of the 14th century. She provided specific details about a miller's daughter named Bertha, who lived in a village that no longer appears on any modern maps. The woman claimed that Bertha's desperate bargain with an otherworldly entity was documented in church records that had been deliberately destroyed during the Reformation. The brothers initially dismissed these claims as the ravings of a disturbed mind. However, their scholarly curiosity was piqued when the woman produced a small leather pouch containing what appeared to be golden thread. Under candlelight, the material seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence that defied explanation. Chemical analysis conducted centuries later would reveal that the threads contained no known metallic elements, yet they maintained their lustrous appearance without tarnishing. Jacob's correspondence with fellow folklorists reveals his growing unease about the woman's visit. He wrote to his colleague, Professor Heinrich Mehr, describing dreams that plagued him after their encounter. In these visions, he witnessed scenes of medieval villages where desperate souls summoned entities from beyond the veil of human understanding. The beings that answered these calls were described as small in stature, but possessed of terrible power, capable of transmuting base materials into precious metals through unknown means. The woman's account differed significantly from the sanitized version that would later appear in the Grimm collection. She described Rumpelstiltskin not as a mere imp or goblin, but as one of a race of beings that existed in the spaces between worlds. These entities fed on human desperation and despair, offering miraculous solutions to impossible problems in exchange for what they valued most, the continuation of bloodlines through firstborn children. According to the woman's testimony, the original Bertha had indeed spun straw into gold, but the process required more than supernatural intervention. Each strand of transformed material carried with it a fragment of the summoner's soul, gradually hollowing out the human vessel until only an empty shell remained. The golden thread found in medieval archaeological sites across northern Europe often contains microscopic organic compounds that modern science cannot identify or replicate. Wilhelm's journal describes how the woman demonstrated knowledge of the ancient summoning rituals. She spoke of circles drawn in blood and salt, of incantations that predated written language, and of the precise astronomical alignments required to pierce the barrier between dimensions. The entity known as Rumpelstiltskin was merely one of many such beings that could be contacted through these methods, each with their own particular appetites and requirements. The brothers' investigation into the woman's claims led them to monastery archives in the Bavarian region. Here, they discovered fragmentary records of ecclesiastical trials conducted against individuals accused of practicing forbidden arts. The testimonies, written in Latin and coded religious language, described cases remarkably similar to the Rumpelstiltskin narrative. Accused practitioners spoke of small, twisted figures that appeared when certain names were spoken in darkness, beings that could alter the fundamental nature of matter itself. One particularly disturbing account, dated 1347, describes a young woman in the village of Hammerstein who claimed to have learned the true name of such an entity. According to the trial records, she had been found in her cottage surrounded by piles of gold coins and precious stones, but her infant child had vanished without trace. The woman insisted that speaking the creature's name had somehow reversed their bargain, but the cost had been the complete erasure of her offspring from existence rather than simple physical death. The ecclesiastical investigators noted that the woman could not remember her child's appearance, voice, or even gender. It was as if the infant had never existed, leaving only a vague sense of loss and empty cradle as evidence of the vanished life. The gold and jewels in her possession crumbled to dust when exposed to blessed water, suggesting that the creature's gifts were sustained by ongoing supernatural influence, rather than genuine transmutation. Wilhelm's research uncovered a pattern of similar incidents across medieval Europe. Villages would report the sudden appearance of wealth coinciding with the disappearance of children, but the memories of these lost souls would fade from communal consciousness within days. Only church records maintained any evidence of their existence, and even these accounts were often incomplete or contradictory. The woman who visited the Grimm brothers claimed to be a descendant of one such bargain. She insisted that the bloodline carried a curse that manifested in each generation, compelling family members to seek out and document these ancient pacts. Her own research had revealed that the entities involved in these transactions existed outside normal temporal boundaries, allowing them to influence events across centuries. According to her testimony, the name Rumpelstiltskin was itself a corruption of an older term that described the creature's essential nature. The original word, which she refused to speak aloud, supposedly meant the one who tears apart in a dialect that had vanished before written records began. The act of guessing or speaking this name correctly would indeed break the creature's hold over its victims, but the consequences extended far beyond simple liberation. The woman's final revelation concerned the true purpose behind these supernatural bargains. She claimed that the entities were not merely collecting human children for unknown purposes, but were actively working to thin the veil between dimensions. Each successful pact created a small tier in reality, allowing more of their kind to seep through into the mortal realm. The ultimate goal was a complete merger of worlds, transforming Earth into a realm where such beings could exist openly. Jacob's last journal entry about the encounter describes the woman's abrupt departure. She vanished from their home during the night, leaving behind only the golden thread and a warning that the story must be preserved but altered. The brothers were instructed to remove the most dangerous elements while maintaining the core narrative, ensuring that future generations would retain some knowledge of these ancient threats without providing a complete guide to summoning them. The published version of Rumpelstiltskin that appeared in the Grimm collection had been carefully edited to remove references to the summoning rituals, the true nature of the entity, and the broader implications of such pacts. However, careful analysis of the text reveals subtle clues that point to the darker origins. The emphasis on names and their power, the specific details about spinning straw into gold, and the creature's ultimate defeat through knowledge all echo the woman's original account. Modern investigations into the Grimm archives have uncovered additional evidence supporting the woman's claims. Chemical analysis of the golden thread has revealed isotopic compositions that do not match any known terrestrial sources. Carbon dating of the material produces inconsistent results, with some tests indicating medieval origins while others suggest the substance exists outside normal temporal parameters. Archaeological excavations in the Harz Mountains have uncovered sites that match descriptions from the woman's testimony. These locations contain circular stone formations with carved symbols that predate known Germanic writing systems. Electromagnetic readings at these sites show persistent anomalies that interfere with modern equipment, and several research teams have reported equipment malfunctions and unexplained phenomena during their investigations. The most disturbing discovery came in 2003, when renovation work at a medieval church in Lower Saxony uncovered a hidden chamber containing dozens of preserved documents. These papers, written in various hands and languages, all describe encounters with entities matching the Rumpelstiltskin archetype. The accounts span nearly 6 centuries and include detailed illustrations of the creatures and their summoning requirements. Analysis of these documents reveals that the woman who visited the Grimm brothers was not unique. Similar figures appear throughout the historical record, always claiming to be descendants of ancient pacts and always working to preserve knowledge of these supernatural bargains. The consistency of their accounts across different time periods and geographical locations suggests either an elaborate hoax spanning centuries or genuine evidence of ongoing supernatural influence. The church documents also contained references to a coming convergence, described as a time when the accumulated damage to reality's fabric would reach a critical threshold. The entities involved in these historical pacts were apparently working toward this moment when the barrier between worlds would finally collapse entirely. The timeline suggested by these prophecies places this convergence sometime within the current. What disturbs you most about the possibility that our most beloved fairy tales might preserve memories of genuine supernatural encounters? Share your thoughts on whether the Grimm brothers truly encountered evidence of otherworldly pacts, and subscribe to explore more cases where folklore and reality intersect in unsettling ways.